Hi, I'm Renee Prince, and I'm a clinical practicing herbalist here in Florida, and this is...
I'm Bob Linde. I'm an acupuncture physician and registered herbalist, and we're the owners of the Tradition School of Herbal Studies. I primarily teach the Chinese herbal program.
And I primarily teach the Western herbal program, but we both love to do plant walks and come out here and talk to you all.
So today we're going to go ahead and explore the Hillsborough River State Park. It's a beautiful place with lots of different biomes, and we're going to introduce you to a few of the really common and generally considered safe edible and medicinal plants that are growing here throughout Central Florida and are very particular here along the beautiful Hillsborough River and all of the surrounding areas. So if you'd like to learn some more, watch the video. Please follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We try to do a pretty good job of keeping people informed about all the great classes coming up. But even more importantly, I hope you can join us for either the 101 in Western Herbal Medicine, that's the start for the entire Western program, or if you really want to get deep into the clinical diagnostics, join me for the traditional Chinese medicine study of the herbs and the diagnostics. But either path or both that you take, enjoy us in some of the free lectures that we offer here in St. Petersburg, Florida. Come on, let's go see what we've got growing here in the Hillsborough River State Park. So we've been wandering along the path. One of the first things we always look for in the woods, once we get to a place we want to explore, needless to say, we live in Florida, there's a lot of mosquitoes. This is our go-to, beautyberry. It grows throughout the area in Florida. It's an easy to identify plant. Once you start to recognize it, you can get them small and they'll actually become a large bush. But one of the tells is along here you'll see the berries or the flowers will align in circular clumps along the stem as opposed to at the very end, the very place we find most berries. So one of the best insect repellents out there. I find it works better than DEET, but it's got some other more interesting uses. Renee, I think you use this. You grew up knowing this from all 4 generations.
Absolutely. I grew up with this being commonly known as redneck toilet paper. Because of its softness, which is its identifying mark in the woods to try to find the leaf, it would be perfect to bundle up a bug repellent that was soft to wipe your butt if you needed to. But secondary, the inner bark we would use for cough medicine along with those opposite berries to make some jam or some jelly. So between the cough medicine and the jam and the jelly, great respiratory and upper body medicine.
And I've always enjoyed, once these berries start to turn a light purple color, they're a favorite for the birds. They spread them throughout the area. And the reality is, I actually like the taste. They're not particularly sweet, and I think they're a great addition. Just that purple color is kind of unique to put into a salad. So enjoy it as a trailside nibble, an addition to your dinner plate, insect repellent, or when you have that need to go into the woods by yourself for a few moments as redneck toilet paper.
Hey you guys, here at Hillsborough River, walking through, and we found this wonderful plant that happens to smell like gasoline and diesel fuel. And that's how you know you got a winner. This is something that we call fireweed. It's oftentimes mistaken for something that's called epazote, but this is fireweed, and it's used in a similar fashion. I have used this to chase away parasites, both in humans and in pets, that we can sprinkle it dried right onto a dog food bowl, and they gobble it right up because it smells so bad and love it. In other cultures, it's used almost as a salad green on the table for the same kind of reason. Bob, what do you use it for?
You know, the fireweed, one of the reasons it's called fireweed is it's one of the first plants to spring up after a forest fire has gone through. So the fire actually helps with that sprouting process and the growing process. And ultimately, although fire is destructive, it's one of those things that's really important for the environment. It cleans out some of the refuge that's on the ground. But it's funny, I like this as food, and although it's a great anti-parasitic, not quite as good as epazote, I always encourage people to start to explore new flavors. In our American culture, we only know sweet and salty. So this is kind of a bitter and acrid flavor to it that helps with the digestion. So as a digestive bitter in the beginning of a meal to really get those digestive fluids going, to stimulate the bile secretions, this can be a great addition, especially if you tend to have sluggish digestion, a lot of bloating or fatigue that comes with your meals, this could be a real winner for you. Very easy to find. The younger plants before they go into flower taste a little bit better, but once they go into flower, like so many plants, those leaves can get kind of bitter. So enjoy your fireweed and improve your digestion.
We're standing here today with a variety of palms, and it's important in Florida to be able to ID these palms because they can save you in many different ways. And they all look the same, but they're 2 or 3 different kinds around us right as we speak. So we're going to talk about the ones that are the most important for you to have. Right here, we're looking at what we'd be considered a sable palm. And in Florida, you're not allowed to harvest sable palms anymore unless you have permission or it's on your own land. The way that we identify this is here in the middle, this stem coming up comes to a point and it bends the leaf in half. It also has no serrations on the edge. I'm dragging my hand down the edge and I'm not screaming in pain and dying of a bloody hand. It's important to know that because this is where the old-fashioned famous swamp cabbage comes from, the true palm, hearts of palm. We can use hearts of palm from any of the other palms, but we can find a small one of these when we're in the forest, cut down the middle part, peel the outside husk off and have a beautiful, beautiful meal, really nourishing, really good for you. Perfect wild food. We're going to go to Bob, who is sitting next to a saw palmetto, and he'll explain the differences and what its medicine is.
So saw palmetto is one of those things that we use for medicine all the time. A lot of you have seen it in the health food store. It's used for prostate issues, so the BPH or the benign prostate hyperplasia. And with this one, it's usually a little bit smaller than the sable or the cabbage palm. When we look at the end of the stem, it's actually a flat tip that looks like it's been cut off, and it gets its name from the saw-like teeth that will literally shred your hand if you run your hand against this too strong. So you always have to be very careful when you're working with saw palmetto that you don't get yourself cut, always wearing gloves. But ultimately our prize for this are these little berries that are here along the stem. These will get about the size of a large grape, an inch, maybe even 2 inches long. Right now in Florida, they've just passed a regulation that you need to have a permit to harvest any of the saw palmetto that's growing unless it's on cultivated land that you're cultivating. The saw palmetto is a really unique flavor. I kind of think of it as rotten soap. So one of the great ways to tell whether your supplement is any good or not is ultimately open up that capsule and taste it. And most people, if it's good saw palmetto, will spit it out. It's a lot of work to try to harvest these and make medicine out of it, so most of us buy it pre-made. It's also important if you're ever out in the wild and you're working around palms of any type, whether you're working with the cabbage, the sable, saw palmetto, there's a lot of critters that like to live around there, rattlesnakes in particular, so really make sure you're wearing your boots and being extra careful. But when we look at saw palmetto for medicine, it actually helps with the used up testosterone in the boat, the dihydrotestosterone. It helps with its clearance. So both men and women alike can actually benefit from using saw palmetto. For the men, it shows up oftentimes as thinning hair, or we'll see it show up as an enlarged prostate. For women, we'll actually see some weight gain, some irritability, sometimes a loss of libido. And for men and women, all of those different hormones, whether it's testosterone, estrogen, or progesterone, it's important that we have them in the right levels and that we allow for our body the proper clearance. So this can be really helpful for getting rid of that used up testosterone just to be happier, healthier using our plants.
Hi y'all. We thought it was important to add this guy into our plant medica because it's something that we hear about all the time, and I want to enforce upon you safety measures when we're talking about plants out in the wild anywhere. This is called poke, and it's something that as heritage medicine you grow up learning about, and I'd like to encourage you from the beginning of this to not eat it for any reason. It's an insanely strong medicine for the immune system, and you're only to use this if you're extremely, extremely ill, and if you've been trained for many, many years. You'll see in old heritage books things about eating poke salad, and there's this huge preparation process you have to go through to eat it, and I do not advise that you do it or use it for food for any reason. But as an immune medicine for someone who's very, very infected and cannot get to the hospital or doctor, it can be a wonderful, wonderful thing.
So there's a couple of different parts. You'll find that we can almost see the little flowers on the end. Those will turn into some dark, dark purple berries that is tempting to young kids. We don't recommend eating those, even though they look good. The seeds in there are the most toxic part. Literally, if you were to crack that seed open, it could potentially make you very ill or even kill a young child. The roots of this plant are frequently the medicine that's used, and it can become a huge, huge root that can be harvested. We usually look for something that's more than 3 years old. And oddly enough, this isn't Chinese medicine. So this plant grows around the world. We call it Sheng Lu, and it's used for phlegm nodules. And again, even in Chinese medicine, we recognize this as toxic, and it has to be used in extreme caution. It's frequently used for severely swollen things in the throat, tonsillitis, and so forth. And occasionally it's even used for things like cancer with swollen, thick tumors anywhere in the body, but in particular the upper part of the body. So you can look for that with your local herbalist, or go ahead and start taking some classes, and then you can advance to the point where you understand how to prepare this for either food with lots of water changes or for strong medicine dealing with more severe, thick, sticky phlegm conditions.
Hey, and don't forget that anytime you're wildcrafting or anytime you're seeking plants for medicine or for food, to consult a professional, consult a clinical herbalist, make sure that 100% of the time you know exactly what you're getting, and heed the warnings that you read about and are told about.
I'm so glad you could join us on our walk around the Hillsborough River State Park. We always have so much fun sharing our adventures with people, and we're going to try to explore and produce these videos on a regular basis. So I hope you tune in, join our YouTube channel, check us out on Facebook, Traditions Herb School, and you can also find us on Instagram at Traditions Herb School. So give us a call, follow along with us, and join us in our adventures and learn lots about herbal medicine so you can be healthy, happy, and always utilizing nature for your medicine.